Okay. Question for you before we pivot to any new victim impact statements, different from what I may have heard before. Did your investigation uncover any receipt of benefits by Ms. Jones? You've described her role, it sounds like more as a conduit. So Ms. Brown and Ms. Luke both sent money to Ms. Jones, who then passed it on to Ms. Brown. You demonstrated at Ms. Brown's plea hearing what Ms. Brown did with the money. But I'm curious if there was ever any evidence you uncovered showing that Ms. Jones was a benefit directly, as opposed to, it's great, my daughter has some money, those are good things, but Ms. Jones, you could see money flowing into her accounts that came out of global, whatever you called it, that connects her beyond being a conduit where money flows into the scheme.
So a couple things there, Judge. I believe that the funds that we directly show going into Ms. Jones's Cash App account were directly then transferred to Ms. Brown. However, I believe that she did receive some collateral benefits. I believe that there may have been a vehicle purchase for her. I'll let the defense correct me if I'm mischaracterizing any of this, but I believe that there was collateral benefits, including potentially use of vehicles, potentially a residence.
That Ms. Brown was able to procure using the proceed, the 600,000 plus of her fraud scheme.
Yes.
Okay. The other co-defendant had a different disposition, but you described his role as being pretty similar to Ms. Jones's, that he may have received money from would-be investors and then channeled that to Ms. Brown. Is that a fair description of his role?
That's fair. The significant difference, Judge, is that if we had proceeded to trial, several of the victims would have testified that Ms. Jones was also present and received, I believe, potentially some cash. And also at least one would have testified that she wrote a receipt after some funds were given to Ms. Brown. So we believe that is a distinction from Mr. Jones that shows her intent and knowledge of what was going on.
Got it. And you're not including the cash received, as in dollar bills or $100 bills, whatever it would be, in the 2750, because those weren't routed through Ms. Jones's account. They would have been routed through her hands, in essence, that a victim said, here's the money I want to get to your daughter, Kayla Brown, head of global investments. Will you please give her this cash?
I want to make sure I'm not misleading the court. My understanding is that in those instances that Ms. Brown and Ms. Jones would both be present together when the funds were received.
Got it. Okay. So it was more of a greater awareness of the size and scale, I guess those are the same thing, the scale of Ms. Brown's operation, that Ms. Jones was present for more of it, whereas Mr. Jones, there just was a smaller amount that went through his hands or his accounts.
It was a larger dollar amount that went through his hands, but we didn't have any additional evidence beyond just the cash flow. Whereas with Ms. Jones, we do believe that there's significant additional evidence.
Okay. And Mr. Jones is Ms. Jones's brother and Ms. Brown's uncle.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. So let me turn to, one second. Let me turn to the Zoom application. I see many familiar names on the list of viewers and listeners. Is there anyone from our community of victims who would like to be heard in connection with Ms. Jones's?
Mr. Butler would.
All right, Mr. Butler, let me get you on the screen. I see the comment from Ms. Burbridge, nothing new, but I appreciate you being here, Ms. Burbridge, and I recall you from preceding sessions. Mr. Butler, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Can I begin now?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you. On at least, based on what we just heard, on at least two occasions, when Ms. Brown and I met, she stayed on the phone and had her mother get items that she had me mail, or checks that she had me mail, and she said her mother was taking them to the bank on her behalf. So her mother received at least 2 of the checks that I sent, cashier's checks, and went to the bank and made a deposit for Kayla so that Kayla could verify it, while she and I were either talking on the phone or met at a local area. So she has, that's even more money because my checks were more than $2,000 that I submitted.
Okay, I want to make sure I follow what you're describing Ms. Jones's role to be. You and Ms. Brown were either on the phone or face to face, and the way you were contributing funds to her scheme was through a cashier's check.
Correct.
And Ms. Brown said, well, I want to confirm this is a legit cashier's check. So I'm going to have, did you know that Ms. Jones was her mother, or did she say, I'm going to have my associate?
No, I knew her as her mother.
Okay, I'm going to have my mom take your cashier's check to the bank to make sure they actually cash.
Correct.
And then you were either staying on the phone with or staying face to face with Ms. Brown until Ms. Jones calls her daughter to say, it's all good.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's yet another aspect of Ms. Jones's involvement in this. And I'm not remembering, I know it's in the documentation that Mr. Wooten already provided, but what was, when you're thinking about those 2 cashier's checks that you're talking about, ballpark, what was the size of your loss through that?
Through just those 2 cashier's checks?
Well, I guess overall, but those 2 checks first, they were about what?
I think one check was a little over 10,000 and the other one might have been about 1,500. My total loss is about 55,000.
All right, all big numbers. Okay, well, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you sharing that. Anything else you want to share with me?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Let me see if there is anyone else. I got the note from, I'm not going to have your last name, so I have to say Shan, and I apologize. I'm not using your last name, but that's the way you entered the Zoom. Anyone else wish to be heard at this time? Okay.
Ms. Palmer, Deanna.
All right, Ms. Palmer, can you turn your camera on, please?
Sure. So Ms. Kayla was there. My first initial payment to Kayla, which was $2,500. Ms. Jones was the driver. We met at a local Walmart in my area, so she definitely was aware of, what was going on and the exchange of, this was cash. I gave her $2,500 cash.
Okay.
And Miss Brown was there, Miss Jones was there, and her daughter was in the back seat. So
When you say her daughter, meaning Ms. Brown's daughter, or Ms. Jones had another child?
Miss Brown's oldest daughter.
Okay.
Was in the back seat.
So whole 3 generations were there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what I'm curious, I'm not pushing back in any way. I wasn't there. What makes you think that Ms. Jones would know why you were giving her daughter some money?
I can't see how she didn't. I can't see how she did not ask questions. She did not want to know why was it such a lump sum of money. Why were we meeting at a Walmart? Like, I'm sure she had questions.
Why is this lady giving you a bag of cash?
I questioned. Yes, why? Yeah. $2,500. And on the strength of what? Like, I'm a mother as well. And I questioned my son, like, hey, what's going on? Why are you doing this? It has to make sense to avoid situations such as this. Situations where he's in trouble or I'm in trouble because of something he's done. But yep, she was definitely there. My first initial transaction, I'm sure she knew.
Okay, got it. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
No problem.
G, you've got your hand up. I assume that means you'd like to speak. But all I know is that it says G on your tile on the screen. All right, perhaps not. I'm going to then pivot to Mr. Campbell. I would like to hear from you. We've got Ms. Simpson on from probation. I don't think we have anyone from pretrial. Hey, Ms. Simpson, how are you doing?
Good afternoon, Judge. How are you?
I'm well. It's nice to hear your voice. Does your system have any information that would suggest that Ms. Jones was ever on felony probation in Georgia?
No, Judge, she is not. So I am under the impression she does not have any felony convictions in Georgia.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Campbell.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, as you heard from the state, Ms. Jones, she did not receive any benefits, all the financial money, anything that was sent to her was sent back to her daughter. We provided evidence of that to the state, checks that were written to Kayla. As the court is aware, Kayla, I think during her sentencing, she did testify that her father passed away, and then she came into, there was a settlement where she received some proceeds. So whatever money Kayla had coming in, or if she was helping Ms. Jones really wouldn't have had any way of knowing where that financial gain or benefit was coming from at the time. She really had no idea of the scheme, had no involvement besides maybe being present, as you heard, giving Kayla a ride or doing her a favor and depositing checks, as she's probably helped, deposit work checks in the past or watched her grandchildren. So she's decided that it's in her best interest to enter this plea under North Carolina v. Alford. As I said, she had no involvement or no knowledge of the scheme that Kayla had created, Judge. She just kind of a bystander, just being a mother helping her daughter, Judge. And we ask that the court accept the plea as negotiated.
Okay. Ms. Jones, Ms. Jones, I have a few questions. Do you have any questions before I get started?
No.
Anything you want to add to what Mr. Campbell said? Okay. Help me understand how it is that either you weren't curious and didn't ask questions of your daughter. This would be along the lines of what one of the victims just shared. Like, how would you not want to know why someone's just handed your daughter a big envelope of cash? But it sounds like there were instances where your daughter wasn't around. You received something from a Tanisha Brown or Ms. Luke, money, and then you transferred that to your daughter. Help me understand how it is that you either didn't ask your daughter, why is all this money flowing to you? Or if she said, oh, it's an investment thing, you didn't want to know more about what was going on. Does that make sense, what I'm asking?
It does.
Okay.
It does.
Well, help me understand that.
Okay. Kayla did personal investments for herself. And it was my understanding that Kayla was doing investments for others. So the monies that were coming to my cash out, that's what they were for. Investments that Kayla was doing for others.
Okay.
That's why I didn't question it.
Your daughter had been investing because of the money she had received through the settlement?
Correct.
Or that was just her line of work?
I don't want to give any false information. But
Okay,
from
take
my
your time.
understanding, she was told how to invest, so she started investing her money. I can't speak for any of the other victims, but for one, I know she knew of the settlement that Kayla received.
Who are we talking about?
Sean Thomas.
Okay,
She knew of because that was my best friend.
okay.
So of course
Was.
I told her, yes.
Right,
So I told her.
okay.
I told her the amount.
Meaning you told Ms. Thomas, my daughter is investing,
No,
that there was a settlement.
Settlement.
Got it.
When she received it.
Okay,
So when Kayla started investing, then Sean Thomas wanted to invest as well.
got it. I want to do what you're doing.
Yes. Make the money that Kayla's making is what she said to me.
Okay.
I want to make the money that Kayla's making.
And-
So with that being said, with the other victims, they were investing. So I can't speak of anybody else. I don't know of anything else. All I know is that incident. So when she would receive monies or when she would have money sent to me, I knew it was because of the investments.
When you say that Ms. Thomas said to you, I want to make money like she's making money, how was it in your understanding that Ms. Thomas would know that your daughter was a successful investor? Because it's one thing to get money because there's a settlement, but that's, no one wants to make money that way. As a sad and difficult way to make money. So were you sharing with Ms. Thomas that your daughter was a successful investor, or were people on their own able to learn that your daughter was a successful investor?
No, she befriended my daughter.
Ms. Thomas?
Thomas did. They
Okay.
became closer than we were.
Got it. So they would have had their own interactions. Your
Correct.
daughter says what she says to Ms. Thomas, true, not true. That's not your communication with Ms. Thomas.
Correct.
Okay. That causes Ms. Thomas to develop a degree of confidence in, comfort with your daughter's supposed investments. She wants in, and it just so happens that you were the conduit for one of those payments. Or
Correct.
you were in the car when one of those payments was. Okay. And then similar with Ms. Brown and Ms. Luke.
And to speak of that incident with me being in the car, honestly, I don't remember.
Okay. Oh, I'm not saying that it happened, didn't happen. It-
Right. So
It
I
was
can't say-
distinctive in her mind.
Yes. So
Okay.
I can't say that but if I was present,
Yeah.
and money was exchanged, it was for the benefit of investing.
Got it. And so the response that would help me understand what I thought were good questions from the victim is that how would a mom not want to know what's this brown envelope with cash in it? Like, what kind of work are you really in? You were under the impression that this related to what you believe to be your daughter's legitimate, successful investment business.
Correct.
Which for a few months might really have existed, at least for herself. We know it didn't exist for all these victims, that there wasn't an investment opportunity that yielded any kind of returns for them. I mean, you sat through the hearing, so you've heard what I've heard. Yeah, okay. And the money's gone. Their money isn't in Apple stock or General Motors. It is gone. So, okay. Where's your daughter now?
She's at her house.
Her house. Is her house the Fox Run address or the other address?
The other address.
I may have a typo with that. I have a question for you about that. Give me 1 second. Whoops. On Watson Circle,
Yes.
do you know what's the street number?
I have to give it now. Can I provide it later?
You can write it down, and because I may have the wrong one, and I want to make sure I get the right one. So Silver Fox is you.
Correct.
Got it. And that's not where she is.
No.
Okay. Where are her kids?
They are there at her house now.
Okay. Got it. All right. First offender. First offender you are eligible for, not having been convicted of any crime before, which is not surprising given your background. It is primarily an opportunity. If you are sentenced as a first offender and you successfully complete your sentence, then you heard what both your lawyer and Mr. Wooten said, that certain things can be expunged, sealed, et cetera, which makes it easier for you to continue to stay in your line of work of healthcare, if that's what you choose to do. But it carries with it a risk as well. The recommendation is that I sentence you to 5 years and that it all be probated. The actual maximums that are associated with the crimes to which you are entering pleas go a lot higher than just 5 years. And so I need to make sure that you understand that if first offender doesn't work out for you, you could be resentenced up to the maximum for the various offenses, and I've just been trying to find, that would get us up to 60 years. I don't say that to make you think, gosh, if I don't do well on first offender because I get a speeding ticket, I'm going to go to prison for 60 years. That's not what's going to happen. But I will tell you that if 2 years from now we are together again and you are somehow directly or even tangentially connected to some kind of fraud situation, that's the kind of thing where I suspect the state would say you should revoke the first offender status and, independent of whatever the new allegations are, resentence Ms. Jones as a felon. And the state might be advocating for, and I might be open to, a meaningful chunk of custodial time, because it would be demonstrating that we were duped, that you were not way out on the periphery, and that you actually get mixed up in swindles like the situation that your daughter was operating. If you don't think that's a big risk, and you're pretty sure that while you were on probation, staying out of trouble is going to be easy, then first offender that's a simple decision to make. But I'm obligated to share with you the benefit and the risk so that you make a knowing decision about first offender. Do you feel like you understand the risks and the benefits of first offender status?
Yes,
Do you wish to be sentenced as a first offender?
yes.
All right.
And Judge, I would like to clarify. So I did tell her that her case would be sealed on the first offender on the front end. I just saw, I think the law changed on it recently, possibly. I just wanted to confirm that it will be sealed on the front end.
I won't get in the way of that. I'm not going to object to it. There may be some steps you need to take. The law did change, and I'm not super familiar yet with the mechanics of it. Whether it's an auto sealing, if the clerk sees first offender, then the clerk's not waiting for an order or a request. So you might want to adopt the belt and suspenders approach. First, if I were you, I would check with the clerk's office saying, could you take a look at the plea that was just entered? Is that going to be sealed? And if the answer is no, then run a draft by Mr. Wooten, but you can get me a sealing order. And I don't know that I've got a whole lot of discretion. I wouldn't oppose it anyway, but I don't think I have discretion. It's what the first offender statute says should happen if it's requested. I just think the new law, you don't even have to ask. It sort of automatically happens. I just, like I said, don't know what automatic means in this context. All right. Well, Ms. Jones, I find there's a factual basis for your plea. I also understand why it's an offered plea, but a jury could, I believe, from the evidence the state has and the testimony that the victims would give to that jury, they could conclude that you knew more about what your daughter was up to than you're saying you did. I don't need to solve that today because you're entering it as an offered plea, where you say you disagree with the state's characterization of the evidence, but it doesn't sound like you're disagreeing with some of the evidence, that money changed hands and sometimes it went through your account or your hands. You just helped me understand what you thought was going on. And a jury might agree with that. And I understand why the state is working this case out this way instead of saying, by golly, Ms. Jones needs to go to prison or something like that. That wasn't your role in this. And through your lawyer, you have mounted what's a viable defense. But of course, it's expensive and it's risky to go to trial because a jury could decide that there was too much smoke surrounding what your daughter did for you to credibly deny knowledge of what she was doing to these many people who lost so much money in connection with what her scheme was. So there is a factual basis. I also find that your plea is knowing, meaning you've understood the things we've been talking about, and voluntary. No one's forced you to enter this plea. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Wooten, do you authorize someone in my office to sign the indictment on your behalf?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Campbell, do you authorize someone in my office to sign on your behalf and your client's behalf?
Yes, Your Honor.
We'll do that. I will, Ms. Jones, follow the negotiated resolution in your case and sentence you to each of the 5 counts to 5 years. Those will all be concurrent. They will be probated. The special conditions of your probation, well, I will sentence you as a first offender. And the special conditions of your probation are those that Mr. Wooten spelled out when he was sharing with me what the joint recommendation was. I'll make sure those are included in the final disposition. And that'll be how we handle this. Mr. Wooten, anything else on behalf of the state?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Campbell?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Jones, any questions?
No.
We have Ms. Simpson. You heard her voice a little earlier from probation. She will not be your probation officer, but she is with probation. I'm going to put her on the screen here. She's going to give you some reporting instructions, and she may have a question for you about your residence, not your street address, but what county in which you live. So she can give you reporting instructions. Okay? Ms. Simpson?
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Jones, I believe I heard you earlier correctly. The address that is registered in the system, that is still your correct updated address?
Correct.
Okay, so that is, I believe you're under Paulding County?
Yes.
Okay, so that office is virtual. I'm going to give you the number.
What does it mean to have a virtual office? No one has to report in person?
For Paulding County, they do not have a physical office, Judge.
Well, you lucked out. Okay.
So I'm going to provide you the number to contact them, and an officer will meet with you to schedule a mutual meeting location so that you can report. Let me know when you are ready.
Hold on. Mr. Campbell is going to get it in his phone, and then he'll forward it to Ms. Jones.
Okay, I'm ready.
It's area code 678-224-4397.
Got it.
Make sure you contact that office, preferably first thing tomorrow morning.
Will do.
Is there an email address too, possibly?
There is not for now. The officer that she will speak with will let her know who her assigned officer will be.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you want, you can list my number as a secondary contact.
Perfect.
All right. I think that is everything.
What's your number?
It's 404-783-9218.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Judge.
Ms. Allen, for your time.
You're very welcome, Your Honor. Y'all have a good